picture this. MJ Littlejohn up to the plate. 3-2 count with the bases loaded. Down by 3 in the championship game. I swing and crush one. Going, gone. I just won the game. The crowd's going crazy and all you can hear is my teammates yelling my name. MJ, MJ, MJ. I run over to my mom and dad and give them a huge hug when my dad tells me how proud of me he is. You know, daydreaming, it's fun for a minute, but it's time for me to step back into my reality. As much as I wish I could tell you that I've had moments like this, I can't. You see, when I was 2 years old, my dad left my family. Then 2 years later, my mom remarries a minister, and 10 months into their marriage, he cheats on her. If you had seen the way my mom was treated and how she suffered, then it becomes almost impossible to trust anyone, much less a man who wants to be part of my life. I've always been told that God's the only father figure I need. But tell me, how am I supposed to trust a God I can't even see, when I can't even trust a man who walks through my door? You know, it's easy for us to put our trust in God when everything's going great. But what happens when things go wrong? And things will go wrong. I was provoked by a story in the Bible. In Daniel chapter 3, you'll see the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were 3 Hebrew boys that were ripped away from their families and forced to work for King Nebuchadnezzar. In the story of these 3 boys, I learned 2 lessons that changed my life and my understanding of trust. The first lesson is to remember who you are when everything is crumbling. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had always trusted and served God, but one day their trust was put to the ultimate test. The king built a huge idol and instructed everyone to bow down to it, but the boys refused because they only served one God. This made the king so mad that he ordered a furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than normal and made the boys go into the fire. Could you imagine? They were being burned alive for putting their trust in God, but yet they stayed firm and they even said, "Your Majesty, if we are thrown into this blazing furnace, the God whom which we serve is able to save us. But even if he doesn't, Your Majesty, we'll never serve your gods." Where does that kind of trust come from? That kind of trust that says, even if the miracle didn't happen yesterday, even if it didn't happen today, I believe it'll happen tomorrow. They knew who they were. They knew they had the identity of a child of God. You see, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were their fake names, their fake identities. Their real names were Hananiah, which means my God is gracious. Mishael, which means who is like Yahweh, and get this, Azariah, which means my God's already helped. The story tells that the soldiers who threw the boys into the fire were killed. You see, what was intended to kill the faithful, it killed the enemy. And that only happens when you know who you are, a child of God. My second lesson is to never fight alone. If you look back in the Bible, these boys' names are never mentioned alone. And I don't think that's a coincidence. You need family and you need friends to get you through your troubles. I come from a broken home, and there's been so many times when I feel like the devil's trying to trap me in a furnace of sadness and anger. But it's times like those that I receive texts from my pastors telling me I have a calling over my life. In this story, I actually learned about it in a Bible class. I don't fight my battles alone. And if it wasn't for my church, I may have never learned to trust in God. So if you haven't been really listening to the message, let me just leave you with this. No matter what you've been through in the past, God was there. No matter what you're going through today, God is here. And no matter what you go through tomorrow, God will be there. Isaiah 43:2 says that when you walk through the fire, you won't be burned, and the flames will not consume you. So I have one last question. Will you allow your circumstances to control your future, or will you trust in God? Thank you.